So there we are. We have covered the general exercise and expectations of this master thesis. We have covered how to theorize, how to identify research question, how to look for academic sources, how do you use databases, etc. How do you store them into your library? How do you link that with your research? What type of methods you're using? In this last video, I would like to talk with you about writing the master thesis and all the steps of completing your master thesis. Okay, so here what I'm going to show you is a few slides about how to write the master thesis. If there is something that is not original in the master thesis, is the structure of the master thesis. It's exactly like an article. So actually it starts with an abstract where you explain the problem, you indicate the methodology that you've been using, you show the main findings and the principal conclusions, right? So this is in the upper side of the slide here. And then, well, you have the introduction where you explain the problem. You establish the territory, so you explain what problem you're focusing on, what has been said about that. Establishing a niche, so explaining what makes your research original and how you're going to respond to it. So that's occupying the niche, right? So that's really the first step, and I really encourage you to do that quite soon, because actually doing this kind of abstract and introduction, etc., is very, very important for the readers to understand what you are actually doing. Okay, then you have the literature review. In the literature review, you are going to explain what has been written on your problem. You know, you start to explain on the topic, but then also you explain about the lenses you are going to use. So how do authors explore business model in the sharing economy, etc., etc. And then at the end of the literature review, you explain your research question. Right? So what's new in what you're doing and why is your research question interesting, etc. So it's very important that in this first part of your research master, you end up with your research question. Then you move to the methodology, which is the how, you know. So you move from the what question to the how. Methodology is about how you collect data. Is it quantitative, qualitative, how you did it, which type of interviews you did, if you're building on an interview, how did you approach the people, how did you define the sample, so and how did you analyze the data. So here it's really super important that you're really transparent to explain that according to your research question, you try to find the best way to answer. So the key word in methodology is transparency. You really explain how you collected the data, what you did, what you didn't do. Once again, it's not meant to be perfect, but it is meant to be transparent. Then the other section will be the results section. So here you explain what you found out, you know, and in a kind of a rough way, you know, what are the results. And then you discuss them and you explain how they help to answer your research question, what type of new questions it's opening. And that's the part where you can start to enlarge a little bit, you know, and come back to the big, broad topic that you're covering in your master thesis, right? So then you have a conclusion, you have acknowledgements. Basically, in the SCP report, you have to do it in the first place, at the start of your document, and then the list of references, okay? So that's really, really standard, no originality here, but it's good also that it's really framed and you know how to do it, okay? What are the criteria we'll use to evaluate the master thesis? So writing presentation, understanding of the subject, research question definition, quality of the methodology, quality of the data, rigorous interpretation of the results, contribution to academic research, and relevance of the bibliography. I don't think it's really useful to develop because it's really coherent with all the discussion the exchange that we have with these videos, right? And so a few elements about the oral defense. So here the duration is between 45 minutes to 1 hour. The procedure, typical process is that you will present during 20 minutes, and my recommendation here is don't keep in mind that the jury will have read your work already, and so don't be stuck into pure repetition. You make a synthesis of the most important results and the most important parts in the methods, etc., etc. But then spend some time cleverly to explain that if you had to do it all over again, which choices would you make, which choices would you change. That's really important also to prepare the discussion and the exchange with your own presentation. So 20 minutes for presentation, then question and discussion with the jury, jury deliberation, and communication to the student of comments on his or her final grade, right? So, and presentation should cover both the main points of the master thesis and points of particular interest. So be clever and try to orient a little bit the discussion on points that you think are particularly interesting, right? So we are concluding here. Here is suggested bibliography is very, very rough, right? You can find plenty of extra documents on methods. So I will urge you to look on that. I would really recommend the third one by Tietar about research methods in management. So this one is in French, but it's quite synthetic and very complete at the same time. So it covers very well quantitative and qualitative methods. So if you read French and you have one book to buy, this one would be great. And you have plenty of them as well in English. So we can discuss that if you want. Well, I hope that this series of video was useful. We may do extra one on what makes research great, so taking examples about that, but I think that it's already quite complete and you should have now a much better understanding of what we expect from you through this exercise. I hope also that this video series has given you some motivation to explore a topic that you find interesting, and it was useful to explore the databases and frame your research question. So see you soon. Hope you're fine, and it was and yeah, I hope this was useful. See you. Bye bye.